Okay, moving on to the next session. What's the horizon for marketing? From AI-driven campaigns and immersive experiences to sustainability-focused strategies. Our next panel discussion will be on the subject, marketing trends that will be standard practice by 2025. Our panelists will take us into the future, highlighting trends that are set to become standard practices. Whether you're a brand strategist or a creative leader, this session will help you stay ahead of the game. And please welcome our moderator and our panelists to the stage. Please give a big round of applause for Ronak Sheth, Dr. Abir S. Al-Hamamidi. Again, good to have you back. And Pavan Kumar. Please give them a big round of applause.
Myself, so you'll skip me. So we start with you. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ronak, and I'm the CMO for 360 ONE, which is the largest wealth and asset management company in India. We manage close to $65 billion under AUM.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pavan Kumar. I represent a company called Right Path Transformation. We are a business consulting firm who specialize in mentoring CXOs on business strategy. My specialty is go-to-market strategy for mid-sized companies, startups, and certain large organizations. We specialize in transformation, especially in the space of marketing.
I think, as you know, that the new trends, not only the technology, even strategy, how the people think, they not only reshaping how the customer behave, but also they shifting how we can reach or connect to our audience. So emerging technology, it's impressive technologies, or like AI, or even the extended reality with the physical reality. It's changing how we do the marketing. So I will elaborate in this topic, however, when I heard your reviews in that way or in other things.
No, sure, absolutely. I think technology and human interaction is evolving on a daily basis, right? And consumer behavior is evolving faster than ever in these times, right? Which is essentially forcing marketeers like us to kind of constantly keep a tab on these changing environments, on these changing behaviors, and in turn kind of change our approach to how are we kind of navigating our daily lives, right? I think that's very important. To this, what we've seen largely, especially post-COVID, at least what I've seen in my business, is from a absolute tech-enabled world during COVID of 2.5, 3 years, clients and people are craving for human interaction, conferences, seminars, where they are able to meet, connect, shake hands, people, right? And that's becoming the norm as we kind of move forward. People are not, we are seeing huge drop-downs or reductions in people attending webinars, right? And we are seeing a huge growth in how people are attending in-person conferences like these, right? So for example, here is a live example. Pavan and I both have traveled from India to be part of this conference, right? That itself shows the need to stay connected and to shake hands, right? What we are also looking at, changes in the generations that we're looking at and how each generation reacts to on-ground marketing campaigns, right? For example, a baby boomer looks at it very differently from a millennial to a Gen Z to a Gen Alpha, and I think that's something that us marketeers are required to constantly adapt, right? And not just adapt it with authenticity, right? Which is the larger challenge today. How can I talk to a millennial or a baby boomer and talk to a Gen Alpha with authenticity? I mean, I have to be God to be able to do that, honestly speaking, right? And that essentially means that we have to constantly build our teams and our networks in a manner, right? Look at agencies, look at partners who can bring in those nuances to the table, right? And yet ensure that the core brand messaging does not get diluted, right? Because then the moment that gets diluted, people look through that. And in that, in our ability to strive for, to achieve that, we lose out on authenticity with one of the groups, right? So it's a constant struggle and evolution for marketers to kind of build this out. Pawan, your thoughts?
I'll add to what Ronak is trying to say. One of the key things when we are working with, especially with startups now, and in the evolving consumer space, is the need, when we say understanding customer, more and more it is going towards hyper-personalization. One of the key trends that is going to evolve, probably 6 months from now, of course we have heard a lot about how AI is helping it. It is going to play a big role in that. But to give you a simple example, look at what Netflix is doing. You know, when you actually, or what Spotify is doing. You know, when you have curated playlists, your entire movies or web series are today curated basing your viewing pattern. If you look at the cosmetic space, what Sephora is doing, or what even an Airbnb is doing, you know, when you actually choose something, essentially the next time you go to that, it gets personalized. So when Ronak was talking about how we need to look at each of the generations, one key aspect that ties a common thread is the fact that how much we are able to connect to the core customer at a genuine level. And going forward, whether it is through AI or whether it is through research or through any other mode of communication, the expectation would be that how much are you able to understand me and how much are you able to customize yourself to drive my need or something that I may not know today, but I might not, but I may want tomorrow.
I think this is a very important point. Yeah, if you allow me, I would like a little bit to elaborate in the emerging technology and using it in the market, because this is my expertise when it comes from the emerging technology part. So one of the projects that we were engaged, and I think it will be familiar for most of you, that it's really one of the key thing in marketing is try to tailor the ads that comes to the person based on their history in shopping and all these things. So when we start this project and tailored the ads that come in the software according to the categories that the customer mostly spend time in that, we found that the sale raised by 20%, which is really a very good percentage when it comes to the sale. So because of utilizing the technology in the marketing by tailored the ads to the needs of the customer, as my colleagues say, so it gives a huge push or a huge useful in this huge raise in the sales. Another project we work in the marketing not only tailored the ads, but also tailored the interface of the application based on the age of the people who is coming to the product. So personalizing the product based on the gender or based on the age, and also based in the geographic area that you are coming from, it's very crucial in the nowadays strategy. So the usual marketing eclipse that was in the beginning of the 2000, it's not working now, and there is a new strategies coming from a new technologies. Do you think that it's a valid point?
Yeah, absolutely. I think newer technologies are kind of taking in, right? Especially with the younger generation, right? And I think you very fairly pointed out in your earlier panel discussion, right? If you don't have a specific app on your phone, your children think that you are old, right? They think that you're not worthy of conversation, right? And I think that's true across the globe, irrespective of where you come from and where you headed, right? Uh, and I think to your point and to Pawan's point earlier, I think we've seen a great trend, right, in the past. From personalization, we've moved to hyper personalization, right? And we're talking about showcasing specific ads, specific campaigns based on the consumer's food data footprint, yeah, digital footprint, right? I think the future, and I see it very clearly and closely, right, with the amount of data that is being captured for every consumer by the brands, I think two things are happening. One, the consumer is expecting now for the brands to give them that hyper personalization experience because they know that you're collecting that data, right? And I think that is very critical. More importantly, from hyper personalization, I think we are moving towards predictive behaviors, right? As a consumer, today you're showing me or you're giving me what I am consuming basis my digital footprint. Can you in the future, and I'm already seeing trends which are moving in that direction, the consumer is now expecting to say, okay, show me what I don't know, but what I will need, right? Which is more from saying, can I as a brand predict what you as a consumer may need in the future and show that to you, and it's a classic Henry Ford evolution or innovation, right? Because when Henry Ford was asked, saying, why have you made the Model T Ford car? He said, if I had asked the consumers what they wanted, they would have probably asked, they wanted faster horses and not a car, right? And that's exactly what we're looking at today in a different form, maybe in a different fashion. But that's, I think, what is being expected, and that is a trend that we are already seeing coming in.
Yeah, and one aspect when he is talking about the digital footprint is how the data is going to be used from a hyper-personalization to what most of the marketeers are looking at as community marketing. We've already started seeing WhatsApp Business, how it is being used. We will increasingly see such communities coming on basis the kind of data that comes in. So, for example, Starbucks has its own Facebook community on which people participate in terms of right from kind of coffee that they want to the more importantly in terms of the lifestyle engagement that they have. In the automobile sector, almost all the premium cars, whether it is Mercedes or BMW, all of them have their own micro communities. We've seen in India, most of the biker communities being there. Most of these micro communities will be essentially focusing, and most of the brands will be focusing on these micro communities in terms of their own brand engagement per se. We have seen already them being also used for focus group studies. In fact, one of the clients that we have here is a cosmetic brand, and we are trying to launch an organic cosmetic brand. And when we were trying to understand whether we should do a focus group or whether we have to do research, my daughter, who just she's a 17-year-old, she just came and she very casually told me that, why are you going towards all these focus groups somewhere and searching for them in all the spaces? Just go to an FB and and then just type in terms of any brand that you like, and you see the number of communities and the social commentary that happens on that, and you need to be a part of that. I mean, a 17-year-old is telling me how to do my own focus group study, and I heard her out, and I realized that is the generation that we need to look at. So the emerging trend there is to look at that, use data very, very cleverly and intelligently. Most of them, if we were to look at it, is commonsensical. We just need to look at it that way.
I think it's a very nice, really, strategy for marketing. I will go back to emerging technology, if you allow me, like another kind of technology that's really interesting in marketing is the impressive technology, like virtual reality, extended reality, augmented reality. And I will give you one example that this technology has been utilized to advertise for Saudi Arabia, our country. So in the Ministry of Culture in Saudi Arabia, they try to put like corners in different countries using virtual reality to give the people the sense of Saudi Arabia. So just to show that we are more than a sand, an area full of sands. So we are not radical people who are not welcoming anyone. We are a very open country. We welcome anyone to come. And they try to give, using the virtual reality, the sense of Saudi Arabia, that we are a country with a full history, with the long history, and we are very open-minded people, and we are welcoming anyone to the country. And it's changed a lot of people who came to our corners in different countries. And a lot of people, they came to the Saudi Arabia, and they still coming, and we are welcoming even you to come to Saudi Arabia. And I wished if I bring this corner here, but Dubai is not far away, so you can jump to Saudi Arabia. So I think utilizing technology, it's a major thing in the strategy of marketing. So using virtual reality or extended reality or mixed reality, it's one of the strongest things or trends in the marketing. Do you agree, Michael?
Yes, I do. In fact, I'll add to that. We have seen a lot of real estate businesses using VR in terms of how you even purchase a house and how you actually look at the entire community around the house, and even in terms of customization of cars, especially the luxury cars. So it's a very, very valid point in terms of the trend.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, a lot of e-commerce companies deploy virtual realities, right? So if you want to, say, buy a dress or a pair of shades, you can actually go into their viewing room, right, where they will make, they'll put that article on you and show you how you look like. I've also seen it with art. I've been looking at art, and literally I can scan my room, and it will place the art in my room to show me how it will look like, right? Furniture, for example, same, right? So a lot of these platforms are constantly kind of building these virtual realities, right? And I think it's becoming a standard now to kind of give these experiences to consumers.
I think not only the technology, that using a kind of technology to marketing, it's even using the technology itself in marketing. For example, you said that my product utilize this technology, so it's a secure technology, it's a secure application. I'm using this one. So using the technology in the marketing, I think one of the things that it's worth to be discussed.
Agree. In fact, one of the key marketing aspects or what we talk to the clients is also in terms of the kind of tools that we use. Now, it's a very touchy subject in terms of how we are using AI in marketing, for example, to create text-based videos or text-based music. A simple prompt can do. There are so many tools that are there. It's very nice to tell to the client, but not so nice to tell to the teams under the client, because there is a level of insecurity when AI comes into marketing. Most of the agencies, the digital marketing agencies, the creative agencies, essentially also perceive it as a threat. But to add to what ma'am is saying, I think the tools, if they are used in a manner which essentially amplifies the creative thinking, which also increases the productivity, and more importantly, what every CEO or a founder or an investor looks for is optimization of costs. It's a great selling point across at all levels, and if we are able to strike the right balance, it's a great way to market the whole aspect of how we can leverage marketing on an overall basis.
Oh, absolutely, but I think I have a slightly contrarian view there, right? In fact, yes, AI is taking a lot of ground these days, right? But I think what is happening, and I think we covered beautifully again in Dr. Abir's previous session, right, where we are talking about humanizing, right? I think humanizing or being authentic, which I kind of started with, is taking the forefront. In fact, I was talking to someone in the lunch break. We have enough AI tools these days to either write your briefs, give out social media plans, even create videos. As many as we have these platforms which are generating these ideas, we also now have platforms which are identifying which is an AI generated content and stopping it, right? So it's kind of an oxymoronish state that we are in today, right? And I think in all of this, humanizing or creating authentic interactions, I think is kind of taking shape, right? In fact, I'm writing an article, but we're looking at artificial intelligence versus human intelligence, right? And the emotions that a humans can build to kind of connect with another human can, in my opinion, not be replaced by AIs, because AI at the end of the day is an input-output mechanism. Depending on the prompt that you give, you will get an output, right? And then thus, this kind of also brings into perspective, I think, a very large change that is coming about, which is of looking at it more from an attention economy perspective, right? The amount of engagement that each one of us has through tech, through platforms that we have either on our mobile phones, our laptops, our the connected world that we are in, right? The attention economy is becoming the most powerful space for marketeers to kind of find their space, right? In fact, I was just reading a study some days ago. For a Gen Z, the attention economy value of a lifetime is close to $2.1 million, right? For baby boomers, it's slightly less. For Gen Alpha, it's much more, right? And the whole trend is now moving towards saying, okay, with all the distraction and the noise that is around, which every brand is adopting, how does a brand look at capturing attention in a meaningful, humanized way? I don't know, Dr. Veer, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can second you in using AI. It's a huge advance in the marketing. For example, the AI, you can use AI to explore the internet to find the new ideas and build product. However, you can use the same tool to target the same people who was complaining about these things. So you use AI to have these people in mind from the beginning, so you can target them when you do the product. It's not only targeting the people with marketing, but also try to investigate what kind of application the people they need. Then it's easy to market this product, the new product, to these particular people.
I agree. I'll still come back to my friend on the humanizing part. You are absolutely right in the aspect that at the end of the day, it is up to us. There's a lot of things that are spoken about AI and its advantages and disadvantages. And my take on that is that essentially it's a leverage at the end of the day. Of course, there is AGI that has already been spoken about. The artificial general intelligence, which was a huge controversial thing in terms of how, ChatGPT is going to evolve eventually. But the point...
By the way, ChatGPT, they bring a very good strategy for marketing. Did you try it?
We tried it so much that we don't want to try it anymore. Yeah. There is something called as, there's a term called as synthetic generation, which basically means that when you write a prompt and it generates a response, and he writes a prompt and you write a prompt, and eventually, on an overall basis, there's a lot of information that is generated. ChatGPT or all the chatbots, whether it's Claude or Gemini or all of them, they essentially, culminate the data. And the next time somebody else gives the same prompt or similar prompt, the data gets, it gets corrupted over a period of time. It's like, you take an item to cook and you put it in the microwave, the first time it heats up, right, from the
Yes.
outside. And when you try to heat it the third time or the fourth time, the food is no more it loses all its flavor and it comes
You
out in
need
its
new
own.
ideas, yes?
Yes.
I absolutely
So,
second you.
so for us, the important aspect is to understand the difference between how it helps us. It's all about leveraging it, if I can put it that way. And I conceptually agree with him. Just one point to add is, again, sticking to the humanizing part of it, I'll give an example of what we call as gut marketing. So the best of the marketeers, if you sit down and in our forums of CMOs or even the CEOs, when we have we call it as the fireside chat, but when we have the corridor chat,
Yeah.
and when all this data is looked at and all the analytics happens and finally everything happens, finally in that board meeting or in that corridor chat, we call it as gut marketing because he finally takes a call basis on what he sees. But the
Yes, yes.
call is with that person, essentially how he wants to launch the product, how he's convinced on the campaign, or how he sees the response on the data. So my belief is I mean, I might be contradicting myself, but I agree with him on that one point, is that ultimately whatever AI throws up, essentially we will take the final call in terms of how the entire, right from the creative strategy to the execution is going to happen. And I like to believe that is where it is going to be.
Actually, yes, I agree with you on that point, yeah.
There is a, sorry, I'm continuing a little bit, but when you see Pixar movies, whether it's Finding Nemo or Inside Out, all the ones, so in terms of the loyalty base, okay, it is not the loyalty programs of the airlines or, or any of the brands, Apple, for that matter. It's the Pixar commands the highest loyalty base in the world, in terms of the movies because it connects at all emotional levels of, this thing. So when I'm talking about gut marketing, I think it's the creative team that finally, or the strategy team that finally takes. All the data in the world can throw up everything. But ultimately, in terms of the brand or in terms of engagement, they command the highest.
I think you raise a very valuable point about the indirect marketing. I think it started the last decade. However, the future will still for the indirect marketing. So people, when you target them with the product, they will not accept it as if you just give them the hint that this product is good. Do you think that's
Yes,
fair point?
absolutely. I think that's why we are all kind of looking at a lot of thought leadership content, right? Where we are not selling products, right? But we are selling solutions to problems that customers may have, right? And then essentially that kind of leads in to a buy-in, which then leads to product sales, right? And and for service companies like us, right, where we don't have tangible products because we are a wealth management company, so we thrive or we survive primarily on advice, right? It's about how Pawan said, right, and Pixar example. It's the ecosystem how we engage with them, right? So for us, it's while I work with my client who's paying me the money, but we engage with their entire family, their entire ecosystem, right? And use knowledge as a medium to engage or information as a medium to engage as opposed to product sales and product knowledge, right? Which essentially allows us to build inroads. And for wealth management company and for entrepreneurship in general, we are seeing a huge wealth transfer happening from the older generation to the newer generation, right? And therein lies any brand's ability to engage with the younger generation far more.
I think we come to the end of the discussion. If there is any quick questions that my colleague can take it. Yes, please. Yes. Can I leave?
Hi.
See you.
Hi. I just wanted to know what's your take on customer data platforms and how they feed into marketing trends? And is there a large adoption, or is just the big guys who use it?
Sure. I'd like to just elaborate. When you say data platforms, are you talking in terms of what is data collection per se, or are you talking in terms of analytics, or are you talking in terms of the CRM platforms? Anything in particular that you're...
No, it's the whole thing.
The whole thing.
So today, companies like Adobe, they provide, it's not just about digital experience platforms. It's gone on to give, they've gone on to give you digital experience marketing platforms.
Yes.
Right? And that's right from the ETL side of things to, to get you a complete 360-degree view of a customer.
Right.
Okay? But how much is the adoption? We want to hear it from you, because you all are on the front line. Okay? I don't know if Adobe sells to you.
Yes.
But I want to know, what is the adoption in the industry when it comes to customer data platforms?
Very, very relevant question, I have to say. And coincidentally, I worked with Adobe in multiple organizations. Adoption is a challenge. That is a fact. And it has been there for, what should I say, from an understanding standpoint earlier. But to a large extent, now it is about the objective of the adoption. Broadly, there are three aspects of platforms like these. One is in terms of engagement primarily. How am I using these platforms for engagement? The second aspect, which is, I would say, the most pertinent point, is in terms of business revenue, to put it very simply. Okay. And the third aspect is in terms of retention. Okay. Whether it is on a B2B or D2C space. So, to a large extent today, from an engagement standpoint till even now, the world is still learning. Okay, the first thing that any CEO or a CXO or a founder would obviously go, because of the natural element of, I would say, requirement is towards business development. They would want these platforms to first focus on having a KPI or a KRA in terms of, the moment I purchase these platforms, the first question I'll ask when I'm putting that money is that, what is it going to give me? Okay, that's a natural question to ask. In fact, CMOs like us, we struggle to answer that question because there is a investment period, right, on that particular thing. But it's a fair question to ask, okay. So, more than the question of adoption, it becomes a question of usage. And usage is driven by clear metrics of how much is the usage helping me. Okay. I think your question is very well intended in terms of the overall level. Okay, how can I use it for engagement? How can I use it to ensure there is more loyalty that I can build from customers? How can I use reselling through these platforms? How can I do service through these platforms? How can I do upselling through these platforms? How can I create content from these platforms over a period of time? Okay, so there are all these aspects of this, and it is a challenge depending upon the industry it is in. In B2B, essentially, most of the founders or the CXOs question these platforms, saying that on an institutional scale, why should I even have it? But the reality is that ultimately, you look at it any which way, okay, it is the engagement and the data-driven engagement which leads to revenue. My answer would be adoption is today linked to business, but on a matured business basis, it will only come from, ensuring that we put our effort into it for engagement first, which leads into revenue. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Yeah. I think you still won't.
No, it's okay. So I think largely aligned with Pawan in terms of large adoption, but I look at it very differently, right? I look at data stages in about three stacks, right? So one is data collection, then is data analytics, right? And then there is insights, right? And I look at adoption in these three stages, right? At data collection, the adoption is super high, right? brands are willing to take any data, any crap that anybody is willing to give or leave with you, right? It doesn't matter. We don't even have a use case. Saying if they're giving, take it. Simple funda, right? I think, and thus the collection is adoption in collection is very high, both in terms of data platforms or data tech stacks, as well as information flow, right? As we move to data analytics, right, the adoption reduces, right? Because we've collected the data, right? But we are using primitive models to analyze that data. We have not invested enough money or tech to ensure that whatever data we are collecting is analyzed well, right? And I think therein lies a problem. Also because of a lot of garbage data coming in, your analytics also kind of gets screwed, right? Because analysis is based on clean data, right? And we don't have clean data. In fact, we are even today as the biggest consumer of data in my organization as a marketeer, I struggle to even get the first name, middle name, and last name correct, right? Which is hygiene in my mind, right? But we struggle, right? Because when the customer is giving the data, he's giving it on a piece of paper or through tech, right? But the person who is editing and inputting in the system is somebody from my back office who doesn't understand that, right? Then coming to insights is even lower, in fact, minuscule, right? Because insights is a combination of collection and analytics. And insight is a human intervention. By looking at data, it is me who has to build those insights, from those insights I will take to my execution stage of outreach, right? In the future, saying, is Facebook working for me or is Instagram working for me? If Instagram working, what is the audience set which is engaging with me on Instagram versus LinkedIn, right? Which platforms are doing well? What kind of content is doing well, right? For the same campaign, I have two different styles of creatives. Which creative is doing well? A/B testing. Right? So things like these, which are all an outcome of the insight that I'm drawing from the data that I've collected. So my take is this, right? Data collection is very high, analytics is low, and insight drawing is even lower because of garbage in, garbage out.
Yes, please.
I could see there was a lot of conversation around AI personalization content and how integration of different platforms would be critical going forward. How do we make it virtually accessible for people to even try our clothes without going to the store? There are a couple of other aspects as well, and I wanted to take your opinion on that. Sustainability, the eco-friendly aspect, which is a growing topic. Ronak, you just spoke about data collection, whether that currently happens. I'm from market research, so that's my bread and butter. But what I want to bring, of course, there's a lot of data that's there, but essentially one of the studies that we do globally, which is to real consumers and just like us sitting out here, we see this is a trend which is picking up. And a lot of it is also to do with whether there's government intervention or not, right? We have COPs, summits happening across different cities as well, which is driving the narrative around sustainability, and then marketeers then deploying products which have sustainable packaging, eco-friendly packaging, and then consumers adopting to that as well. That's something that's happening a lot in Western countries. It's slowly picking up in the other parts of the world. What's your take on that? That's one trend that I feel is going to be quite important. And the second one is around data privacy. While we are talking about everything becoming accessible with the use of technology, at the same time, the elimination of the cookie settings, which the marketers won't be able to access or the digital platforms won't be able to access, how that is going to influence, just your take on that. Thank you.
Excellent points. In fact, I had written them here, but it just did not come, the context did not come up. Very, very valid trends, two trends, both of that you mentioned. I'll first talk about the second one. Data privacy is paramount. I mean, everybody knows that in terms of the kind of data usage that is happening. In fact, when he was talking about Adobe or, there's a lot of platforms like Oracle or IBM, which traditionally have been using it. I was really surprised when there was a certain stage earlier when they would come and they would say, in an organization wherein we have adopted their platforms, and they would come and say, I mean, I'm talking about 5 years back or 4 years back, when they would come and say, you know what, we are running your entire enterprise systems through you, and we have your data. And it might be, like you said, garbage, but we can add flesh to that data. And the CTO of our organization would totally, go berserk, saying that, are you using our data? And how are you able to flesh up that data? I mean, there are cases wherein we just have the name and the telephone number. And the privacy issues that are governing, of course, large organizations at a multinational level do have very, very strict norms. But coming to the point of how it is getting used and the trend towards how it is going to evolve is a very clever integration of how the algorithm is going to work now. Algorithms that are using social media platforms very cleverly without having a conflict of data privacy. Now, even this is controversial because many countries have, either they have an issue, I mean, China has virtually, ring-fenced everything in terms of privacy, and so are many other organizations, many other countries. But what is happening very rapidly is that data as a currency is being used extensively internally. Privacy and data usage is rapidly going to be complemented in terms of how my social media platforms are going to evolve. So if I have my name and my surname in Meta, for example, Meta doesn't share any data, Amazon doesn't share any data, none of these people share any data. But like I was talking about the micro communities, wherein there is a thread that, like you said, cookies are no more there, but there is a thread, the digital footprint, wherein I can use the algorithm to find out and freshen it up. That is what Adobe told to us, that's what Oracle told to us. A lot of enterprise solutions, even at a micro level, which are using the so-called AI data, are talking about it. The honest answer is it's a evolving trend. Do we have an answer? No. Is there regulation that is going to be there, much more stringent? Yes. But like everything else that finds its own answer, there will be, a time when it will take over in terms of how social will evolve over a period of time. That is the current understanding. The second point is in terms of ESG. ESG is going to, sustainability is a huge factor of, from a marketing standpoint, it's a great brand building exercise. At a brand level, I think Apple used it the best when they introduced iPhone a year back, and they said that, our phones reduce the carbon footprint. There are many B2B organizations that we are working with, which says somebody who is in manufacturing are actually asking us to build campaigns saying that, look, to transport our materials, the kind of trucks that we use and the kind of carbon footprint of carbon that they emanate, we are going to plant equal number of trees, to balance out. So from a ground level campaigns to, to brands that are using it effectively, sustainability is going to be the factor that will drive brands and marketing on a large scale level. And I would only say my last point on that is that even engagement in terms of using most of the brand, Carrefour here, for example, they're talking about reusable shopping bags. So there are micro level initiatives to macro level initiatives that are going to drive. It's definitely a trend that will make a difference in terms of building your brand.
No, absolutely. I think inherently we marketers are smart, right? So if people will remove cookies, we will introduce biscottis. People will remove biscottis, we'll go for coffee, right? So somebody will say coffees are not allowed. We'll figure out a way to kind of get that data, right? Again, whether it's active or passive is the question, right? Earlier we were actively tracking your footprint, etc., right, where you're coming from, etc. These days we force you to leave your information with us because every thought leadership that we put, we'll put it behind a paywall, right? A paywall is nothing but essentially either you pay up or you leave your information, which is good enough for us. Right now, when you're voluntarily leaving information to me, right? Then my responsibility from a GDPR or a DPDP Act for India or GDPR globally is compliance, right? Because then I have to basically just submit to regulators or authorities how I'm storing your data, how am I using your data, right? And for 1 year, there are no questions asked, right? Again, after a year, I'll come up with another publication, report, etc., which will entice you. You will leave your information with us, right? So essentially, it's about us tracking you versus now you leaving your information willingly to us, right? And we find a way around it, right? That's why I said, right? We'll figure out, right? That's our job. Marketeers are perennial survivors, right? CEOs may come and go, companies may live and die, but marketeers essentially kind of figure out and survive long term. On sustainability, I think we are at a very, very early stage of implementation. We are talking a lot, right, which is a great thing, right? We're doing less, but I think the intention of largely people and brands is there, right? So I think it'll pick up pace. We are taking already a lot of baby steps to kind of build that out there, right? For example, events. Earlier these backdrops used to be all flex, right? A lot of companies have moved from sustainable point of view to kind of saying, okay, we'll not do that, or we'll figure out more environmental friendly materials, etc., to do that, right? To even on marketing and campaign side, like Pawan said, right? So we've evolved there, right? We are kind of countering our consumption of carbon emit by countering it with planting more trees, etc., doing or kind of covering it through the larger ESG mandate that every company is following these days, right? So I think we are in the right direction as brands, as a world, and I see definitive steps being taken to kind of move and kind of bring about a genuine change in our environment.
On a lighter note, as marketeers, the first question that is asked to us whenever we come with a strategy or a campaign is that first help us sustain the business. Then we'll talk about other forms of sustainability. Thank you.
Do we have time for one more question? Yeah, please.
Okay, am I audible like this?
Yes,
Okay,
you
perfect.
are.
So hi, my name is Sarthak. I'm a student at University of Manchester. And I'm also a part of the family business where we manufacture textiles and garments for customers in India. So with regards to sustainability and marketing, I wanted to understand what your views are on ethics as marketers, especially when it comes to terms like greenwashing, marketing campaigns, to favor business goals and to manipulate customers. So I'll take an example. Let's say there are multiple papers which say that the total life cycle of EVs or e-vehicles is actually worse than the total life cycle of, let's say, a diesel or a petrol-powered car. But irrespective, EVs are portrayed by marketers to be more sustainable.
They are even worse than petrol and diesel cars, right? And you've seen through that, right? Any trend which kind of takes over in this manner will obviously, have its hype, but it'll die out very fast, right? And that's where essentially ethics play a large role, right? And whatever I've come across with a lot of CMOs that I've interacted with, I don't see unethical practices in that manner, right? At the end of the day, look, like Pawan said, right, in a joking manner, at the end of the day, sustainability is also about sustaining our business, right, at the end of the day. So that is a conundrum that a marketer essentially goes through regularly, right? Where he or she draws a line is a critical area. And I think it's something that the marketer will have to answer to their own conscience than anything else, right? There are enough malpractices happening, right? Not forget marketeers, even governments do it, right? It's a call that then eventually those people will have to take, or people will look through it, right? So I think there is that balance that will have to be built in. right? Through ethical practices, through communicating it in the right manner. And you will see trends which will kind of come and go, right? There's a whole thing between fad and reality.
I mean, glad that you're asking a student. When I was a student, I worked in Ogilvy, which is an advertising agency, and I had a similar thing. So I asked a similar question to the creative head. And so he had a one line which David Ogilvy very famously said that good advertising will never sell a bad product. So it goes to the business point also. Okay. The key is that never treat the customer, as if he's just taken for granted, to put it very simply. Like you have seen through, everybody sees through over a period of time. I'm not even going towards the regulation and governance part of what governments are going to do, or, what businesses and their own, the institutions that govern will do. But from a simple brand standpoint, we have seen enough cases wherein great brands have collapsed because of, essentially bad practices. It is not sustainable.
Yeah, in fact, just to very quickly add to his point, if you look at India right now, there is a whole trend of adulterated food products, right, which is being led by this famous person under the ages of food farmer, right? And he is taking large giants he's bringing them to the table, right, with high amount of sugar or multiple not healthy products.
The comparison of milk products in the US compared to India.
Correct,
Yeah,
exactly, right. And that there is a classic, and these products have thrived all these years. I've grown up eating these products, right, and we've never thought about reading the label behind, but today that revolution is happening. And there are brands which have taken him to the court and have come back, and he's won the case where the brands have changed the composition of the product to, or ensure that they are mentioning upfront the contents and the constituents of the product that they are selling upfront, right? So it says, now labels are there which says 8 cubes of sugar or 20 cubes of sugar, etc.
If those brands were saying before that we are healthy or we are good for your health, then they were doing that manipulation. So what I disagree with Sarthak and his question is that it's not about manipulation, and that's what Pawan was talking about. It's not about, you can't sustain a business if you be manipulative. That's not going to last for long. So you can't take consumers for granted, and the consumers, the Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, basically they'll be able to see through very quickly, much easier than what we were able to see. Yeah. So it's going to come through, and the idea is not to have false claims. There are big organizations who make sure that the claims, whatever they put on their packaging or in their communication, are tested out. They get approval for that, and then only they put it out. Otherwise, they do not get into any such communications which could be not in line with their actual product. So that's...
And the way social is working right now, I mean, if you are talking about it, you can imagine the entire generation, the moment they see that there is any level of, I mean, not just in terms of products, but also in terms of services, the kind of reviews that you get or the kind of rating that you get, everybody today wise about that, right? And it's just out there. And one bad review can fuel so many things. So it's a highly sensitive topic. So you will, actually your generation is the one which is leading that in terms of information and transfer. Sometimes it's an information overload too. Okay, it can be manipulated too. But it is what it is. It can't thrive. So we can.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.